things.
Well, it's what we chase. It becomes cringy when you look at something for so long, and it becomes this: what do I do? How do I do it? We kicked it off live here, so I'm going to do a slightly different intro for first time around. So first off, it's the first of the year. Not it's the first of the year. It's the first live stream of the year. Welcome to Player Driven Live. Quick formatting update: what we're doing, why we're here, how it's working. So first of all, thank you. My whole screen looks messed up right now, but I'll assume it's fine in production. Maybe not. But so we are here at Player Driven Live. I am joined by Colin, as I always am. I'll let him introduce himself in a minute here. But just to kind of break down what we've been doing at Player Driven over break, what we're looking to build out here, and how you can become part of the community. We've broken it up into three different sections. We have Player Driven, the podcast, which will drop on Tuesdays, which are more of stories on how people got into gaming, the skills that they use. We have Player Driven Live with Colin, where we're going to start on a pretty much weekly basis, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, whatever I can muse out of Colin. We break down the gaming industry, what's going on news wise, game wise, what are people playing, just all about the industry and what we're seeing happen in a more live format where you can all come hang out, chat with us. And then we have our workshops where we're looking to help create strategies to help give you a competitive advantage in the industry. So what are trust and safety people doing? What are community experts doing, right? With the data that we can see that Colin provides us and what we hear about the strategies and stories on the podcast, how can you actually take these learnings and build something into it? So that was a whole bunch of words. We have a lot of cool stuff going on. It is a new year. Colin, I will let you say hi and introduce yourself. So say hi.
Hey, Colan Neese, SVP of Gaming at Scoot Engine ASI and commercial lead on Mind Game Data. This is live stream. I don't know what many counts we've done so far, Greg, but the first of the new year. I know that much. So welcome back. I took a social media sabbatical from a professional social media and recharged my energy, and now I'm back to it, writing my first newsletter literally right now. But I'm excited to talk about all the things that's already happening in the industry because
And
it's
there's
already moving fast.
There's been so much. I've thought of you so much during break, from Lego, from the different movies that we've seen, to everything that speaks to you. So, CES is a topic I don't think we were going to get too deep onto, and maybe we will. But Lego had like the announcement. The
Oh,
question was,
don't.
it kind of made us all scratch our head. It's like, what is Lego doing here? So, you want to give us a breakdown, kind of what you saw
Well,
Lego talk about at CES? What does it mean to me as a consumer, and how do you feel about it?
I mean, what makes you think I know anything about this topic? So yeah, I am of the camp that I am not so much mouth agape like why are you doing this Lego, but I'm not like a fan of it, and to me it's just like another one of those distractions of Lego. Like it's cool there at CES. It's cool that they got the normies or like the non-Lego super fans excited about Lego with technology that I need to like literally hold my hand to say how is this different than what's out there in terms of just like play features, let's say. But I'm not a fan. And for those who don't know, Lego came out with a thing they call a smart brick. Smart brick is this little device that comes with your Lego sets that you put on it, and if you move it around, in theory, it's supposed to activate different sounds and different effects and different interactions with things in your environment, along with other Legos that probably have smart bricks on it too, right? So that's like the TLDR of what it is, right? And they kind of showed the Star Wars sets. The hoopla now among the Lego community, which I am as an adult fan of Lego find myself in, right, is kind of couple fold. One, play features. Like let's assume this is just a toy, and like adult fans, you get your Stranger Things house each set that costs hundreds of dollars. It's not meant for kids, obviously. And in kind, we're gonna give the kids something in return because Lego is a toy. I'm like, okay, fair enough. But the toy costs like $70. Like as a parent of two, I'm like, so am I supposed to buy a Lego set of 500 pieces count, which is for $70 for a TIE fighter, or sorry, for an X-Wing and R2D2? Like you gotta be kidding me. Like that's as much as a console game. Like I, we talk about this in the gaming industry, like, oh, people can't afford console games. I'm not gonna afford a single Lego set for $70. It's like ridiculous. And if I could, I wouldn't. Out of just like this thing should cost 50, not 70, right? So that's the Lego community's like first like kind of push on it. And then when Lego does these things, they typically make them look ugly. The sets look ugly, and this is no different. So that's like an aesthetic choice. But like you see the brick on it, it doesn't look nice on the X-wing. It just aesthetically looks bad, and so that's like rant two.
I saw the X-wing demo, and the guy put the brick on the wrong way at first, and had to turn it around. And like he's moving it around, it's not making a sound. Then finally it kicks in. It's like the old school like ringtones. It sounds like your like MIDI ringtone ringing on your phone. It's a shh, just like
No, totally. Absolutely. And Lego does this. It's not the first time Lego's tried to redefine the playing of Lego. I think most famously in the gaming industry, they did this with Mario in the onset of COVID, right? Where these Mario sets came out, it was a QR code, he jumped around, he'd scan a QR code and he'd react to it saying, "Oh, it's me." And then you could like literally build the actual level of Mario out in your living room, right? And what has been said about this was what an insanely successful innovation from Lego. Mario is one of the best selling things they have. Not true, but I'll put a pin in that. Like that's not one of the best. The best selling sets are Lego Star Wars, Lego Harry Potter. But whatever. It was a hit when it came out because we were all trapped inside of COVID and our kids were bored to tears. And you could buy these things and say, put together a Mario level and use our entire living room. We don't care because we're all inside. Like, there's a reason why they were successful. But they were. So I think this is like the evolution of the QR code Mario scanning on things as he jumps around to what this is the next iteration. But like Lego has done this before. Like they've tried to get into more like missile shooting sets. They call it like battle packs or whatever, the attack packs or something like that. They did like so they've always tried to innovate the toy to go after Hasbro or whomever, right? They're like, oh, they got a piece of the market. We need to go after them. And like honestly, the only time I would as a Lego fan say they were successful, and I promise I'll get off the sale, is like the Brickheads models, right? Where you basically came out with Funko Pops and like those do really well, right? So they still around, but everything else has gone by the wayside. And like I'll bring this back to gaming. I think the reason why Lego did this announcement at CES, it's cool tech, sure. The Pokemon anniversary comes out. It starts next month in February. They already announced they're doing Lego Pokemon sets. 100% this is built, I think, for Nintendo for Pokemon. Because if I think about these smart bricks in a Pokemon battle setting where you're going to have an arena and you got Pokemon with smart bricks on the back of them and you put them in an arena, yeah, that would be cool. And I get why they did it. And then I was just trying to like scale the technology to other models that they do. But I think I would fully expect this to be part of the reason why the Pokemon line moved from Mega Bloks to Lego is in part because Lego developed this advanced play feature to make the Pokemon more playable, right? And I think that's where it all stems from to bring it back to gaming. So this will become a gaming thing in like a month when they launch the Pokemon sets.
You were breaking me through that. You're breaking down that explanation to me the other day, and I was just like, Pokemon, it just makes sense. You may not like it, but when Pikachu has that little chip on him that can be the reader, and you it gets the right sound coming out of Pikachu, and you have him fighting whoever in the battle.
Charizard.
Charizard, exactly. It doesn't matter. I'm just thinking about my son, what he's doing on a nightly basis with his Mega Blocks, which he'll want the same thing again now when they come out as Lego. I'm just like, it does make sense. And it brings me back to like, it's not there yet, but like the return of a Skylanders type of game, right? Where like you have your little piece that you buy and you put it on there. Like that made, I don't know how that isn't back again already. That made bananas amounts of money. I mean,
That's the case that's being made about this from the non-Lego community, who's like, "Oh, you don't understand, Lego people. You're crying about costs and everything else, but the Skylander was such a success." And I go back to Lego's a success because they're Lego. The thing that piques people at Lego is they make a very quality, um, clickable brick. They invented it. They don't own the patent anymore. I guess the patent is expired, so more people could do like the snappable brick things. But they do it better than anyone else because they have quality behind it. They get the brand licenses right when they do them right. So Lego Star Wars, Lego Harry Potter, Lego Marvel, Lego DC. I can go on and on. Like Lego Avatar, Lego Legends of Zelda, Lego Mario. Like they have so many licenses under their umbrella. Some that have a gajillion sets, like Lego Star Wars. Some that come and go with like the movies, like Lego Avatar or even Lego Simpsons, which I think only has like 4 sets in its entirety. But they still have the Legos. Or sorry, Lego Simpsons. Lego Simpsons is a series that comes out with a set every once in a great while, right? So they do really good job at IP mashups and sort of stuff. So that's what Lego does really well. This other stuff is just like experimentation to me. And if Lego really wanted to get into interactive media, they already did. They own a piece of Epic Games. They put $1 billion in it and they do the Lego world inside Fortnite. So through Fortnite, right? And so they're really good at doing kind of putting their chips on the table with some sort of interactive media. And you know, my hobby horse, go back to gaming. If they really want to get serious about it, go buy TT from Warner Brothers. Apparently, Netflix valued that company at $0. So to me, it's like discount buy. Go buy TT from Warner's before it goes to Netflix. Pull them into Lego Group. Make console Lego games like you've been doing forever. Like my son's number one game he's looking forward to this year by far is Lego Batman.
Yep.
He does not stop talking about Lego Batman. He saw the trailer. He's like, I want to play Lego Batman. When's it coming out? When's it
Yep.
coming out? I spent my holidays playing Lego Star Wars, the complete Skywalker saga, because we didn't have Lego Batman to play yet.
I can't get my son to play Lego Star Wars. He doesn't like it, but Lego Marvel, any Lego Marvel, he reset the game like 15 times and beat the game 15 times. I'm just like, dude, the Star Wars one's better, man. You give it a shot. He's like, no, I don't care about that. It's too difficult. I want to play Marvel. But I want to ask a question about Lego, then move to Fortnite, right? I think what Lego is doing, and this is just, they missed Minecraft. Like they were Minecraft. If they had mined something back then, I forgot what it was. I think it was late to the party, but like that could have been Lego. It was should have
Fine.
been Lego, and I think they probably look back in hindsight like we saw this trend, we didn't take our shot at this trend, and we missed it. So now, if there's an inkling of a trend, we're interested. And to your point, if Lego or if Nintendo was like, "Hey, we wanna do this with you," it's probably like a no brainer, like dollar bills in their eyes, and just go with it. But I think they got that FOMO.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it says nothing more than Lego has a also licensing deal with Mojang and Lego Minecraft, which is one of their more popular sets, to be honest. So, again, I do probably think they could have bought it. I mean, would they have outbid Microsoft? I don't know, but they could have been early on that sort of stuff. I guess history is history at this point. And
Yeah.
they're just kind of trying to like understand like how do we make sure our brand doesn't die off with the next generation. And I honestly think the biggest value asset they have is they made the 18 plus line for adults like me to be investing a unquotable amount of assets and money into Lego so that my son gets jazzed because he sees that I'm doing Lego and he wants to do Lego, and thus he adopts my complete fandom of Lego. We go to Legoland, we go to Lego Discovery Center. Lego becomes a piece of our lives because Lego got me as a 20 something year old who had abandoned his Lego toys as childish, but then they started coming out with UCS Star Wars sets, and I was like, what would look great on my shelf? A Darth Vader TIE fighter. That thing looks rad. And then it goes on from there. So um yeah.
I don't say don't discount Botanical, man. What they did to get to, I guess the female, more so female demographic, right? Like
Oh my gosh.
genius. They look great. They're difficult. They're
I
amazing.
have Lego art sets in my house. I'm currently building a Starry Night from Van Gogh that'll sit on a shelf somewhere because my better half has deemed it good looking enough to be not just regulated to
Amazing.
my office as a toy, but something that can sit on a shelf proudly because it's a good piece of art, better than what you'd get at like I don't know West Elm or something like that, right? So
For AI.
um, Wow. I want to say one more comment on CES. I saw a lot of the stuff coming out about the insane rising costs of memory and all that sort of stuff, and I don't have like a hard take on it yet, but I do have this inkling that the rising costs of the technology that underpins a lot of the hardware that we play our games on is gonna probably have a impact on how we move into the next gen. And so I think that's another thing that's coming out of CES and more broadly at the beginning of the year, where you're seeing all these canceled orders and people pulling back like the commitments to selling customers PCs and memory because they're going to raise their prices up a lot because they kind of have to because the AI race, like you called out. So I think there is a kernel of something there that we'll kind of see kind of pop, as it were, going into this year. It's one of
What
my musings.
what if I told you there was a brand out there that was abandoning hardware but continuing to make games? Would you say that's the right strategy to go with right now?
I mean, if they can only market those games effectively
Minor detail.
and put them on a device that people want to play, that would
This is
be that would be
to our unfamiliar listeners. This is our transition to when Colin beats me up in my fandom of Microsoft. It's hard to defend this one, although my defense would be I heard Microsoft always does layoffs in January. The question is this now just normal? And I didn't look any of this up, right? It sucks. It's terrible. It's their profits are up. Everything's up across the board except the employee count because they're replacing with AI. And yeah, I mean, take that as it is. Some people like the trend, some people don't like it. It's going to hurt in the short term. It's going to hurt people. The gaming division is kind of like a WTF are you doing? Azure is seemingly okay. I don't know enough
Oh,
about the
printing
financial.
money.
Right. So like it's a shitty place to be. It makes sense as Microsoft, but you're becoming the bad guy. And maybe they've been the bad guy for a while. It's not unlike Microsoft to be the bad guy, then Apple comes in, becomes the nice guy, then Apple will leave, or maybe Steam's gonna become the nice guy here, right? But like it goes back to the my Batman quote of you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. And I think we've gone through that cycle with Microsoft where they're now just the villain.
Yeah, I think that's generally true, and I think I'm well. Let me actually take a unpack that a bit. Like, yes, I am a. I guess I have become a Microsoft troll publicly, anyways. But I ultimately, like, I really want them to fix their business model. I don't want them to go away. Be clear to all the gaming industry folks on here. Like, I firmly believe if they were to exit the gaming industry, that would be catastrophic to the industry because they are subsidizing so much of the industry right now. Visa Game Pass deals, or they're offsetting a lot of costs to indie and AA publisher or developers out there to put their game on Game Pass. That goes away. That's going to have downstream impact, but it's not just them. It's the companies like Riot Games that get zero marginal cost free money to put all the skins of League of Legends through Game Pass. So there is a huge economic downstream effect if they were to exit gaming. And I don't want them to see them to do that, right? But I also don't like watching them march down a path that is inevitably going to fail. So that's why I kind of continually say what I want to say. And to that end, like I saw the rumor, I saw it in the information, I believe, is where I saw it posted, but like, rumors of an insane amount of layoffs, 11 to 22,000. The chief comms person came out and said that's a bunch of false rumors. So they're trying to get in front of it. Whether true or not true, I don't think it's crazy to say, based on last year's performance from the gaming side of Microsoft, that there will be layoffs. Like Call of Duty did not do well last year. That is, I've written about that. It's in the data. People have commented on it across the spectrum. It did not do Call of Duty numbers. That is their biggest blockbuster game at Activision, and their only game, but like the game pretty much. But it was also the biggest game in the Microsoft portfolio, not Minecraft, right? So going downstream, what else did they do last year from a release standpoint? Well, they put out, you know, Outer Worlds 2 flopped, Ninja Gaiden 4 flopped, right? Like these games just didn't do well. Doom the Dark Ages, not as well as it should have done, right? So all these games are underperforming. So there's going to be, just hypothesizing, but I can't imagine there's not going to be downstream impact from a bad 2025 going into 26. So that's what sucks. So when it happens, who knows, right? Maybe it's not in January, but will it happen? Probably, and that's going to suck. And to your point, Greg, it's because yeah, as Azure is printing a lot of money, they're also eating up all the capex because they have to expand indefinitely. And gaming is a rounding error to Microsoft. That's just what it is. Whether they make a game successful, not make a game successful, doesn't matter to the stock price at all. Um, doesn't matter. And at some point, I think that's why they're just going to look and say, why are we doing gaming? If we're just going to keep cutting it down to try to save pennies to offset some of our actual hard capex costs on the AI side, like when do they just pull away from it? Is a question that I think about a lot, and I think that the bad answer there is that it's going to suck for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, again, whenever I talk about AI, I talk about Nvidia. They're the hammer, right? Why do you need to get into the weeds if you're the technology powering it all? And if Microsoft can be the back end to all these games that run, you have to run on a surface, run on a platform, run on something, right? If they can be that power there, then why put on that mask in front of why compete with yourself? I guess, for lack of better words, I don't think they're gonna pull out of gaming. I mean, I think they'll go the Sega route. Um,
Will they just publish?
I mean, if they can build out Game Pass to become a platform competitive to Steam, right? Still think there's data or there's value in the data they can get from people, right? I mean, we're in an ad-based world, and if they start giving out Game Pass for free, but I know everything I need to about Colin, I know which Lego things to show him at what times, like there's a
Yeah.
lot more value in there, especially when advertisers are going to start paying up to wazoo for everything. So if I can get your eyeballs to watch whatever my thing is, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their catalog right now. So like presumably Forza Horizon 6 comes out this year. That'll be a hit, right? Our data shows that's a guaranteed hit right now, barring a catastrophe. But like it's gonna make my musings. It's like, yeah, Microsoft has some challenges, but they also have some hits, guys. So Minecraft, still the biggest game in the world. It's owned by Microsoft. It's a good thing to have if you're a gaming company to have one of the largest assets out there in Minecraft, right? They just don't talk about it, and the industry doesn't talk about it, but they do own it, right? That's an asset. Um, the WoW expansion coming out. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's coming out. That'll do fine, right? So that they have a nice little win there, right? So they do have irons in the fire. They're going to kind of do it well. I get concerned when I think about Fable, when I think about the next Gears of War. Those I'm incredibly dubious, and I think a lot's riding on Halo going on PlayStation. Like,
Definitely.
and if that is successful, which I actually think it will be, I play a Halo remastered on PlayStation? Yes, I'm there, right? That sounds like a good time, right? And if that does well, then that maybe makes them think more like along the lines of we need to exit the hardware space now, focus on platform, which is what you're talking about, Greg, and focus
Mhm.
on publishing, which is making games. Like we'll make games, put them on anything, doesn't matter. And at some point, like I think Game Pass, while interesting business, I think it's the thing in between what they really want, which is they want every game to run their cloud instance on Azure. I think that's the end game. And Game Pass was the way to get there. To like go, okay, if we're running the subscription model, it makes sense that we then also run the games behind it as it goes to cloud streaming and not running on a physical device. And then that's our end game. And you know, maybe Game Pass it is not needed to get to that end game at some point, right? Everything is going to become cloud based, and I know we're very far away from that because latency issues with multiplayer games being kind of the main thing, right? We're not anywhere close to cloud gaming becoming the standard bearer, but like I do believe that cloud gaming has room to be in existence if you just think about from a single player. Like, does my son need to play Lego Batman on a disc or a downloaded file? No, who cares about he's not going to care about the latency of Batman fighting people if he even notices at all. It doesn't matter, right? So prime example one, like a game that could work perfectly fine in the cloud. Doesn't need to be owned or on a device.
Well, if you saw, I think there was an announcement a couple days ago from Sarah Bond from Xbox that Hisense, I think that's how you pronounce it, the TVs from Best Buy, they're all going to start coming with Game Pass installed on it. And you can run it directly from the TV. You don't need to install it, right? Like you're opening up this platform to a whole nother market that may have not had a video game platform before. And I know Samsung already has it in some of their models of TV, but like imagine just buying a TV, being able to take out an Xbox controller, connecting it. It's probably Series S quality graphics, but I think at that point you don't really care about what the graphics look like as much as how easily can I play the game.
And I just having this thought in real time. So that's why I love these live streams. I get to do stream of consciousness, Colin, not overthink my points. So here's an interesting musing. What if this is more successful in Asia than it is in the West? And that like the Asia is very dictated by space. Like there's only so much space to put your things, and that's one of the challenges with PC games over there broadly, kind of in a more macro sense. Like that's why they have like PC coffee lounges or whatever, right out there, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Also consoles, like what consoles are always challenged. They jump to form factor mobile because yes, the screen, yes, it's mobile, yes, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they skipped a technology generation as emerging markets typically do, but also because they lack the space to put a giant, like, TV in a console and having all that hardware. So if they could skip a whole thing and just have the thing streamed to them on the TV set, that would actually make sense. I mean, just musing on that. I think it's an interesting thought exercise, but I think the idea of not having a box in your living room is a value add for places like that. And for me personally, I want nothing more than to get rid of every appliance in my living room. Like I look at it
No
as
way.
junk.
You're crazy.
No, I don't want to own a thing that sits in my living room, and that is my PlayStation 5. It's in a bookshelf I shut. It sounds like a jet engine. Every time I have to play it, I have to open up and tell my kids, do not shut this door or the thing will overheat and shut off. And like it's not modern. If that
I'll
makes sense.
tell you, the Microsoft hardware, albeit Red Ring of Death, we could ignore that one. It's just so well built compared to PlayStation. I remember seeing the size difference between the Series X and the PlayStation 5 when it came out. The PlayStation 5 was like this big. Like it didn't fit in any normal entertainment system. I'm just thinking to myself, like, what is like, yeah, it's cool looking for like 30 seconds. Then you just got this block that you can't fit on top of anything, below anything. And it's just like, what do I do with this thing?
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, and I would get rid of every box if the technology existed. That's why I've gone to Steam Deck handhelds. Like I like handhelds. It's not a box. It's a thing that can carry around with me, sit in my chair, plug it in for charging, move around my house. Same with my Switch. Granted, I mostly play the Switch on the TV because it plugs in a nice little dock, but it broadcasts my TV, but it takes up minimal space. Like a Switch is like this, right?
Mhm.
It's on a dock, it's like this, it's like that. Perfect. It's not the giant honking piece of hardware that goes and sounds like a jet engine when you like turn it on. But anyways, I digress. I digress.
So last question, the Microsoft thing, right?
Mhm.
It hasn't been confirmed yet about the layoffs, right? And we can all assume it's gonna happen, but it's not confirmed at all. But like, if nothing does happen, no one's gonna forgive Microsoft for this fake news, right? Like, it's still gonna be like a screw Microsoft type of thing, right? Like, they kind of got the short end of the stick here.
I mean, yeah, I mean, yes, but they also, I mean, I think Microsoft, to fair point. And it's not, and they can come out of the woods. Look at EA. EA was the number one rated villain of gaming for so long, and I would definitely say if that same survey or whoever did that, I always remember that data being thrown around. If you were to run that data point back the same way they collected it, it would be easily Microsoft. Big old Microsoft's the villain of gaming. EA is kind of walk back into something like indifference, right? Like no one loves and passionate about EA as a company, but they're not like blaming them for the downfall of gaming like they are Microsoft now. And I think Microsoft has, to your earlier point, become the villain of gaming. Doesn't mean they have to be forever. It just is where they are right now, right?
Yep.
And they're gonna get blamed for layoffs that don't even happen. Meanwhile, Ubisoft shuts down Halifax in a quasi union busting effort. So there's there's that, right?
Way to take the heat off of Take Two for a few minutes there.
Oh yeah, I because
Union,
they yeah, I know what you're talking
union
about.
busting's so
Yeah.
hot right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough one, and I know people in your audience probably have a really strong opinion about it, and I just think like in a world where I was talking about this with someone, and I mean, no offense, this is practical logic, Colin, talking here. So, in the era of the 20th century, and you worked at a sawmill, and the sawmill unionized, part of the power of the union was you're geographically constrained to the sawmill that had to be physically where it was at within like a 5 mile radius so people could come work in the sawmill, for example, right? So you could unionize, you could ask for better wages because the workforce had to live around that area, and so you're constrained by that. In the digital era that we all operate in now, you're no longer constrained by that geographic kind of thing. Your time zones are kind of somewhat constrained, but like if a company can look around the world and say labor here is really expensive, and that's the West. And labor overseas, whether it be the East or emerging markets, is much cheaper. And all they need is power and a server, and they can work effectively the same, and we could pay them, 30% of what we're paying these people. And on their side, not always. Like, there's some very bad situations out there. I want to call that out, but there's are situations where the quality of living for those people in those markets is going up substantially because their other option is working a manual labor jobs, and they're like, oh great, I could do the software job, and it's not the best working conditions, but it's better when I was already doing. Not always, be clear, but it is sometimes. And I think that's the competition that unions face now. It's like the company can pick up stakes and like bypass the union, and it's icky, but like go to somewhere else. Literally, like, oh, we just need digital bits and a computer over here, and that sucks. That's the downside of a internet connected global economy that we all now operate in,
You're also
for
doing a
sure.
human versus human comparison where it can now be human versus computer and AI, right? Who
Well,
would
that's
you
the other
pick?
half of it, yeah.
And I my first jobs were all in New York City, right? I literally worked on Wall Street, and like we were just ingrained unions are bad. I remember growing up, it's just like, you know what? The reason the US car manufacturers sucked are because we had unions and they required a certain amount of payment. And like it's all the perspective you're fed of how you feel about these things, right? I just still remember like going through New York and like you see one guy hammering, and that's all the joke was. He only does that because that's what the union pays him to do, just hammer. And then when he's done, he just sits there for the next X amount of hours. And that's just kind of what you're fed, right? And again, it goes back to Batman. Like you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain, or vice versa. And in this case, like it kind of that's the theme of this episode, I guess. Is kind of like the double-edged sword. Is like you're looked upon as loved for a while, then you might be the villain. And my other example, that's Elon Musk, right? Like when Elon first came out with Tesla, like people were like, he is the hero we need, right? Like this is what we want. And there are still some people that believe that, and that's fine. But then there's other people that see him and see a wackadoodle dude, right? Like you live long enough in this moment where you transform because I guess that's just what happens.
I That Elon thing is so spot on. He guy. at worst funded a company that makes rocket ships reusable. That's insane, right?
Awesome.
And he's also a wackadoodle.
Right,
I'm sorry
yeah,
for
like
those.
I talk with someone, it's
um,
like you need those people. Like you need maniacs to come in and actually change technology. Even Bezos, right? Like you can hate Amazon, but look at all the change they did for the positive. And there's a lot of negative because people focus on that. But look how many jobs he gave. People always complain Amazon had the highest number of layoffs. Well, they're the biggest hiring of people here. Of course, they had this just by pure numbers. That's how it has to happen. And it's
yeah,
all
that's a good
perspective and
point.
how you kind of tell that story.
Oh my god, that's a good point. Not to be super dour, but like, I think the rising cost of memory and obviously GPUs have been there as just the first wave. I think we're gonna see a rising cost in other infrastructure. So like going back to the story about Microsoft, the reason why they said that they're gonna do layoffs is to afford the CapEx to kind of continue to expand their server farm business because what's the CapEx on a server farm? Because all you're building is a big building with boxes in it. Well, it's the GPUs, it's the memory, it's the power. Those are the three constraints. And like, because building an actual cement building to put computers in is actually pretty cheap. That's not expensive. It's everything that's in that cement building that's expensive, and the thing to run it forever is expensive.
Mhm.
And those things only employ like two people that walk around. You ever seen Silicon Valley? That whole
Yeah.
season where they're talking about putting a thing in a box inside a room. It's kind of where we're at right now, and
Yeah.
just scaled to everything, and that's crazy, right? So yeah, I think the next wave is people's energy bills are going to go up, and that's going to not be good, and then people are going to kind of lose their jobs because everything I kind of called out before on top of what you said, automation is going to be the boogeyman. If I were a giant company, I would say the boogeyman is always going to be AI. Like, oh yeah, it's the automation. We're finding efficiency with the AI, even if they're not, because they can't go out and say we're actually going to move all the jobs to Southeast Asia, North Africa, parts of India, and maybe LATAM, and split the difference across all those markets and have a operation that used to be run out of the either coast in the U.S. Right? I
Yep.
just think that that's a politically more dangerous thing to say than just say automation.
I agree. And
Um,
that is a
Let's
pill in
get
the
to
very
happier
slow.
topics. Is there anything happy?
Yeah, I want to talk
Like,
about data. I want to check your mind game data. I don't know if you've
oh yeah, no, no. Let me give you. So I really just literally wrote something, or well, I'm in the process of writing. So those who don't know, I write a thing called patch notes. I have not done a patch notes since the new year. I will have a new patch notes coming out tomorrow. Or yeah, tomorrow's Friday, but might be done tonight. We'll see. Either way, I'm in it and I'm analyzing all the trends. And one of the things I thought most interesting is the first blurb for spoiler of my newsletter is going to be about Capcom. Man, are they going to have a good Q1? And like not only like so Resident Evil Requiem to the shock of no one, not a bold prediction, gonna just dominate Q1. There's no like first half actually, unless something changes drastically. They're gonna just own the first half of this year as it stands today. Like they're so far ahead of everyone else, it's not even close, right? So awesome job, Capcom. And you might think, well, that's because of GTA 6 moving out and everyone was scared of that game, so they weren't going to go against it. So Capcom, being the bold people they are, were going right at it. And I actually think no, I think that does them a disservice. So I actually did an analysis where I looked backwards at Capcom's strategy over the last half decade and said, what are they actually doing with the releases? And you learn very quickly that they come out with their games in Q1. Their biggest selling games every single year come out in Q1. And I'll just kind of go backwards. Like so last year, they I don't know if it's official or not official, or it's like 1A, 1B sort of thing with that and Battlefield, but I think like Monster Hunter Wilds, massive selling game last year, right? Came out in February. So they dominated that first half, like up until the Oblivion remaster came out, they were the biggest game by far, right? That came out in Q1.
that's what took it down, Oblivion.
Well, I didn't take it down. More like
Yeah,
nothing got to the same highs
yeah.
as a Monster Hunter Wilds until Oblivion came out. So that's like one. But then you go backwards before that, and like, okay, Dragon's Dogma 2 came out the year before that. Not the biggest game of that particular quarter, right? I think let me look at my date notes real quick. So apologies for those who are listening to me by time, as it were. Oh yeah. So that quarter, the biggest thing was Pal World, right? So for a lot of reasons, right? Came out in January, kind of blew up, was the biggest game of Q1. And Helldivers 2 did come out in the same quarter, and then I'm thinking 2023 or 2024, sorry. But like Dragon's Dogma 2 would have been the biggest game had it not been for Pal World, and it Didn't have the same long tail as Helldivers 2, but it was a big out the gate game, right? And then going backwards again to 2023, you had Resident Evil 4 a remake come out. And the reason that wasn't the biggest game of Q1 was because of how Hogwarts Legacy came out. But had it not come out, it would have been the biggest game of Q1. And you look at the rest of the releases from Capcom, they do way less numbers than their Q1 release. So Capcom has defined itself in the data as the Q1 company. Like whatever they're going to do, their big swing is going to be in Q1. And yeah, Resident Evil is a bigger franchise than Street Fighter. It's not even close, right? Monster Hunter is a bigger franchise than Street Fighter, not even close, right? Those are their tentpole franchises, right? And they'll do other games after these big tentpole games, like Mega Man, and I think it's coming out this year. They're making a swing at that, but they're much, 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 much smaller than their big swings, which is their big temples, which is Resident Evil and Monster Hunters. They're the temple franchises over there.
Resident Evil is no doubt bigger than Street Fighter, but I'm curious from the esports, from the kind of competitions that Street Fighter has, can it out revenue? I don't know.
I wouldn't. No, they don't sell as many units. Like so, good Street Fighter game probably sells like six or eight to nine. Like because the best selling fighting game franchise, not Smash. So Smash is operating in a league that's like 4x bigger than anybody else. Like the
Right.
last Smash, I think sold like 50 million copies, which is insane, right? So no one's touching that in the fighting game side,
Yeah.
right? So then much further down is Mortal Kombat, and I think they kind of typically hit like 10 to 15 million in sales with their games, right? So a really strong franchise from WB Games, but right, but like at a different level, and then beyond, and then below that is everything else, right? And you get
Yeah.
to the everything else, and that's like the Street Fighters, the Dragon Ball Sparking Zeros, or the Dragon Ball franchise from Namco Bandai, and then I'm forgetting a couple other ones. I am terrible at this fighting game franchise off the top of my head, but like everything else kind of exists. But beyond that, I would say Street Fighter typically is the biggest. Oh, Tekken, the biggest of the other ones, but
Okay.
like it's not the Mortal Kombat, right? Now we're close. Now could change. I think there's a cultural relevance to Street Fighter in the U.S. that kind of papers our view of that game versus the rest of the world. But again, I think Street Fighter does fine, but it's nowhere near the level of like Resident Evil or a Monster Hunter.
I'm waiting for new
I,
Dead or Alive
I
volleyball.
look. I hope there's so many franchises at Capcom and they've proved apt to kind of revisit them and redo them. And I'm not saying Mega Man's gonna be a hit, although I did make that as you should make this into a really good TV show and then see if you can make a game again. But um
That's a great call out, man. My kid doesn't know anything about Mega Man, but if a Mega Man show came out, he would be so about that.
I have so much that I mean you could do X, you could do Zero, you could do Classic. There's a lot of threads to pull with Mega Man. And they should just look at Sonic as the template, like another beloved 90s franchise out the desert for at least 15 years, coming back with a zeitgeist that's really driven by its transmedia IP versus its everything else, its games itself. Although games are in seeing increasing interest, in part because it's such a dominant force in terms of its films, right?
I would also double down saying the fandom of Sonic, the people that made Sonic Mania, because that wasn't made by Team Sonic. Like the fact that they remade it their own, they made their own Sonic game that lived up to the first two or three Sonic games. Like that's a fandom right there. Right? They knew what they were doing. And yes, all that other transmedia stuff helps plenty, much more so. But like that fandom keeps it alive.
Totally. And then like the other, so like that's my Capcom. That's my bit on them. Other game that's coming out this quarter that I think I'm really like, there's two actually, two other major games that I'm like, that's interesting. And they tell a tale of a similar thing. So you have like kind of, right? I don't know if I'll thread the needle exactly, but like you have Hytale, which is a game that was bought by Riot, then canceled, internet uproar about it canceling. The original people were able to buy it away or pick it away from Riot or however they structured that deal, and now it's set to come out in a couple of weeks. And that game will be a solid hit. Like it'll do fine, right? Relative to everything else this quarter, it'll do decent numbers, I think. And the question I have there is like, did Riot make a mistake by letting it go? I don't know, maybe, but like, was letting it go the best marketing and thing that could have ever happened to a game like that? 100%. Like they turned that moment of death into community uproar, into engagement, into hype, into what looks to be like a nice a nice little like hit or like a nice little single or something like that later in this month. And it's like, congrats to the Hightail side. Like that's cool. That's great. Great little success story for
That's that
bubbling
fandom,
up there.
man. Get all your community tips at player driven, build that out.
And, and then and then like the other side of that is, well, Marathon's supposed to now come out this quarter. They too are facing a death situation. Can they re-engage the community and win back the hearts and minds of the Bungie fans? Maybe, but that's an open question. Like I don't have an answer there. But it's an interesting question to ponder on because Bungie definitely needs this game to hit more than I probably expected it needing to hit when they greenlit this game years ago, right? They're just in a weird spot. And shout out to those at Bungie if you listen to this, but like I'm hopeful that this game succeeds. You find an audience and you were able to let players play the game before you release it so they can see what you did to change the game and shift the narrative back into a positive direction.
I am very excited about Marathon, and I wasn't up until the most recent content that came out. And I think it's a fascinating story, and I think the way they built it and the way they took that feedback. I was a Halo fan that got upset when Bungie got bought out by Sony and didn't play Destiny, and I was just like, oh, I'll keep my eye on this. And Marathon looked the least bit interesting to me. I didn't give any care to it. But then seeing the visuals, seeing the colors, hearing the feedback from the community, from the develop from Bungie, right? I'm just like, this is a lot like Battlefield. Not maybe not as storied, maybe it is depending how you want to look at it, but the way they're engaging with the community, testing the game out, hearing the feedback, like my money would be on it succeeding. It is in a tough spot because it's also up against Arc, and Arc Raiders is the same exact game, so you're gonna play one or the other, right? They're both extraction shooters, and again, there's only and you can say they're not, but they're still shooters at the end of the day, right? So someone's gonna boot up and pick one of these two games to play. How do you rip people away from Arc? And
I think people want to play a new thing, and I think messaging is everything. And so while Bungie definitely fumbled the ball on the messaging coming out the gate on this game, at least from a community sentiment perspective, I would also say Bungie also is one of the early book writers of what community engagement is. See Destiny, and so if anyone can potentially write any sort of ship, I would say it's probably them. And all the drama aside, historically speaking, and I didn't play Arc Raiders in its early access beta, but Arc Raider or Bungie makes really good feeling shooter games. I know it's like a nebulous thing, but like when you play a Bungie shooter that's made by them, you're like, oh, this feels good.
yeah,
Like it's good to shoot the gun. Like if they kind of get that core played loop down, then I think, and they make good looking games, then I think maybe the rest falls into place. But we'll see, right?
so would you say that there's an opportunity where either Halo kills Marathon or Marathon kills Halo?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think Halo. I mean, God, I don't go
Same
back to
month, right? I
Microsoft.
think they both come out March.
Oh, does say Halo? I didn't think it got a date announced to it
Oh
yet,
no, am I
but
wrong on that? I don't know why
maybe.
my brain was saying.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it has a date on it, but if it did, I think Halo Remastered on PlayStation is just an extension. It's a way to re-engage a fan base that, or like
Yeah.
to kind of grow the fan base beyond the core, like console Halo games. So we'll
Sure.
see. I want to play it, but I am so not a fan of the Halo franchise plus Bungie that I am very, and I've played them all, so it's not like I haven't picked them up and played them. I'm very resonant to buying into it until I see it. I'm very much wait and see. Whereas Bungie, I played Destiny 2 like heck. I played Destiny 1. I love Bungie games. I don't play Destiny 2. I haven't played it for years, but I will pick up a Bungie title just to see what the once it's done. Like I'm very like I know a lot of people like to play early access and judge a game on that. I am very much like I'll play when it's done and I'll come to it and give my kind of conclusion. And I even though I have sworn off shooter games, I will play a Bungie shooter just to see if it's good or not. So they have my vote, but I'm also old and I'm not the audience you want to reach. So
I'm with you though. You know that Bungie shooter when you play it. I can still think of like throwing those plasma grenades at the warthog and just
it's so much fun. Yeah, yeah. I got one more theme to roll by you that I'm gonna noodle on. So those are the games coming out this quarter that are most interested me. Shout out to Crimson Desert. I think that could be a nice little hit, especially overseas. So like that MMO that's kind of slated to come out this quarter too is another one that's I have my eye on. The last one I would say is the I feel like we're culturally returning to the 2000s. Like we are going to early 2000s culture. And this really, so I really took the break and thought about this sort of stuff. I kid, not kidding, and I cemented me. I followed all the Avengers Doomsday leak trailers on Twitter like crazy. I was like, oh, the next one got leaked, and the best one by far, including the fourth one that was leaked like yesterday, is the
Hmm.
Cyclops one, where they just Cyclops played by James Marsden shooting Cyclops beams in the sky. Looks like the animated show like intro sequence. You're like, yeah, this is metal. I'm in on this movie now. Hell yeah. And what did they do? They brought the 2000s Fox X-Men, not the X-Men, rebooted X-Men. Not them, none of them. Nope. They have the OG X-Men. I know Magneto and they have Xavier, but really it's the Cyclops. Like, oh, Cyclops is the OG Cyclops that they killed off in X-Men 3, right? For no reason. And he's back and he's metal and he's wearing the blue suit. You're like, let's go, baby. And like, it's not just that. It's almost like we're moving past the era of sad heroes. Shout out to Simon. If he's listens to this, I know he probably agrees wholeheartedly on this. The sad hero, like Bond, went from being a sad hero, like the Daniel Craig, he's sad Bond, he's depressed, he's kicking, he's moping about the losses in his life, and now we got Bond 007 First Light coming out, and it's like Bond, he's fun, he's driving Aston Martin, he's in a casino, he's shooting up people, he's sneaking around, spycraft all around. It's like the vibe is fun, fun Bond, right? Fun Bond. Go to Tomb Raider, which Crystal Dynamics made the Square Enix Tomb Raiders game. Everyone, so it's same people making all the Tomb Raider games. The new Tomb Raiders like popped at the Game Awards. Why? I won't comment on Lara Croft, but I was to say like she's fun. Like, oh, she's fun. She's like you're not. She's not. She's a very different tone of character that's different from the 2010s that they're making now. And I think we're seeing this like almost like revisit back to kind of heroes being quasi fun, and I am interested in how that plays out in gaming. I think both those games have a real shot of being good hits. Both Tomb Raider game for Amazon Game Studios. My sneaky dark horse of one of a comeback story, Amazon Game Studios, sitting on the Bond game, sitting on the Tomb Raider game. They're going to have a nice story coming out at the end of the year that Amazon can publish a game. Even if IO Interactive fairly is a publishing 007, I saw the trailer. Amazon Game Studios credits are right on there too. They're going to take credit for it, guys.
Sure.
Even if you did all the work.
We're in this. I was at a talk at MDev, and they were talking about the next generation that we should be selling games to, and the answer was the boomers. We should be selling games to the boomers because they're all starting to get to a point where their kids are moving out of their house and they're retiring, and they have a lot of additional income that they're able to spend. If you look at these games, they're coming back. They're the games that we grow up with, and we have kids, right? We grew up with Laura Croft and her triangle boobs on the PlayStation, right? And now we're the same. My kids are probably the same age I was when these games were coming out, and they're being re-released, and it gets excited for us to see them play these games, right? And like they're fun, and I think not to say none of these depressing games weren't fun; they were still fun, but like, yeah, I think you're right. There's a high energy going on right now. The
the
X-Men.
world the world is a sucky place. We talked about it a lot at the beginning of this. So like people want escapism. Let's just put it like that. And escapism is the form of like things that appear to be fun, vibrant, poppy, right? I think that is something I have my eye on as a trend, not just within gaming. I mean, I'm not a guy that's going to comment on film very much, but again, back to the X-Men trailer, like, or the event. Sorry, I'm going to call it X-Men now. The Doomsday trailer. I'm like, let's do this. Let's see Cyclops be Cyclops. This is awesome, right? Granted, he was not having fun. It looked like the expansion was not in a good spot.
No, but that's the
Not,
Cyclops we need, right? That's the one we've never been gifted on a real movie. It's always been the Wolverine show.
I bet you Wolverine's in this movie, but we don't have to go on that
100%.
rabbit hole, huh?
100% he's gonna be in there, but like I feel like we've never seen Cyclops really
Dude, the
blaze up.
Cyclops. Totally agree.
Exactly.
Totally agree.
Have you read this comic? Have you read Doomsday?
I mean, you mean Secret Wars was based on?
Secret
I
Wars,
know.
sorry, I forget.
Yeah. I kind of know what they're probably gonna do. I think they're
Yeah.
gonna merge. God, sorry, nerd corner. They're probably gonna merge X-Men versus Avengers into a Doomsday story. I would like. I don't follow the spoilers online. I try to avoid them, but like
Mhm.
the trailer makes it seem like they're going to probably fight the X-Men, and so it's gonna be a quasi X-Men versus Avengers movie tied in with Doctor Doom somehow being the kind of manipulator of it all,
Yeah.
the whole thing happening. That would be my plot synopsis guess without having seen anything or reading that much into it. Like that'd be my guess, right? Which
Yeah.
is cool, right? They did it in the comics. sold really well. The Secret Wars will do really well. And as I joke, there's a lot of red shirts from the last 5. Again, Marvel, they've been making, everyone wants to kind of say what's been wrong with the MCU. I could say what's been. All the heroes have been sad. That's the thing. They've all been mopey. Like the end game happened, the snap happened, and all the movies, including like one I like, the Thunderbolts, is about sad heroes being sad and then being depressed. The bad guy in that movie, Sentry, is literally the personification of depression. Like, if that's not synonymous, if that's not just like this, like the symbol of the MCU over the last 5 years, I don't know what is. Like, I'm sick of being depressed, and we're kind of like, maybe we're breaking out of the COVID stink of like we're all just sad and indoors and feeling bad. Like, into, at least we want our entertainment to be more escapism, more Top Gun Maverick, less like fun, vibrant, flying planes, versus, being mopey, right? Lack of a better word for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, and we're gonna have to wrap this up here, but like
Oh, totally.
kind of goes to like the cycles of gamings, right? When college football came back, right? The nostalgia is really quick for that hit, right? How much do we want to see 2005 X-Men, right? Nonstop. I get that, right? But at the same time, there's a certain point where it's like, all right, it was fun to revisit this. It's not fun to be back in this world. And I think superhero fatigue was real. That's a whole different conversation, and we don't have to get into that. Let's end with saying where anything that's top of mind for you, want to share where people can find you, how to hook up with your patch notes, which we will post as well.
Oh yeah, Colan Neese. Again, SVP of Gaming Screen Engine Ace. I do my content mostly on LinkedIn, so just find me there, follow me there, connect with me. Love to talk shop or whatever. And I will someday get a Substack open.
He doesn't need a
It's on my
Substack.
to-do. New Year's resolution: get a Substack. So that will be coming.
We will have everything for Colin's patch notes. We'll link to them so you can find them. Eventually, we'll talk him to dropping him into our Discord, which you should check out the player-driven Discord. I should have a QR code here at the bottom, but I don't. You're not looking at the screen. I'm looking at like the live stream screen. I was like,
I'm
hey, I
like,
should probably have something
do I
on there.
scan it? No. And go to
I think I
the,
should.
engage with the player driven community. I know he does a lot of good content across everything else, so I'm just a piece of it. So shout out to Greg.
No, he's a great writer. Love his stuff. Also, check out our Substack, which is manned by Lewis Ward. He just wrote a piece about Christina Camilleri. She is from Trust and Safety at Netflix, and she has such a cool career. We had a podcast about a few months ago, and it's just super cool how Lewis actually breaks down this information. It's also on Player Driven now as well. I'm trying to get all my content into a single home here. And this week's podcast was really cool for anyone going to Pocket Gamers London. It was with the founder of XP Gaming, Chris James. We talk about a lot of cool things, from how you get conferences started, why, the trends you see, what's going on in gaming. So I will be at PGC London. If you are going to PGC London, hit us up. We will find you. Yeah, that's this news.
What?
I just found this
You're
one.
going to London? Oh my God! Congrats, dude. Have a good
Yeah,
time out there, man.
we'll talk
What's up,
again
all my
before
London
then.
folks?
But
Yeah.
yeah, man, follow Player Driven. Thank you so much, Colin, for joining us our first of the year. We will be back next week with some new topics, with some new engagement, hopefully more people watching, and see you next week.